Cloud storage services are abundant. They are offered by Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and a host of other companies. But those are all public. If you want a private cloud service, you can set one up on your own network. All you need is a hard drive, some free software, and a Raspberry Pi. Hi, I'm Mark Neiman Ross, and welcome to this week's edition of Raspberry Pi Weekly. Every week, we explore the Raspberry Pi and share useful tips. There are three main steps to creating a private cloud. Install and set up Open Media Vault, then connect a properly formatted hard drive, and then connect your computer to the private cloud server. Open Media Vault is a free Linux distribution with a specific installer for the Raspberry Pi. To install it, go to openmediavault.org, then go to Downloads. The installation images can be found here, which is actually SourceForge. Scroll down to the Raspberry Pi images and download OMV4 Raspberry Pi 2, 3, 3 plus 4 or the latest image. When you've successfully downloaded the image, use Balena Etcher to copy the unmodified OMV download directly to an SD card for use in the Raspberry Pi. To build the server, you first want to turn off the power to the Raspberry Pi, and you'll need a hard drive with a USB connection. It should be formatted as ext4. It should be powered externally from a power source separate from the Raspberry Pi. You can't just plug in a hard drive to the Raspberry Pi. It doesn't have enough power. Be sure to use wired Ethernet. It's important to have an internet connection before booting the first time. Don't depend on Wi-Fi. A keyboard and monitor are helpful, but optional, and you won't need a mouse connected to the Raspberry Pi. Finally, insert the SD card with the OMV image. Then connect power. This will start a formatting process that you might want to start in the evening and then walk away. It can take at least 20 minutes and causes at least one reboot. Don't watch it. You'll be tempted to check to see if it's still running. It's best just to leave it alone. When it's finished, the screen attached to the Raspberry Pi will display a lot of diagnostic text. Look here for the IP address of your server and write this down. Now open a browser on any other computer on your network. Enter that IP address to open the Open Media Vault control panel. In my case, it was http://10.35.3.114. You'll need to add a port number after that. Go colon, and then the port is 80, so it's :80. And you'll see the login screen to the dashboard for Open Media Vault. The default username is admin, and the password is Open Media Vault. At some point, you're going to want to change that password. Now you're looking at the control panel for Open Media Vault, the server that's going to be your private cloud server. First, add any drives to your file system. Let's go to Storage, File System. And if your hard drive is not listed, use Create to add the hard drive. If it is listed, but not listed as being used, click on it and then select Mount. Apply those changes. That hard drive is now available to your private cloud server. Next, you'll want to create a user. Scroll down to User and add a user. In this case, I'm going to add Mark Neiman-Ross, and all of the other fields are optional except for password. In this case, I'll set it as Mark, which is an easy password. You should select something a little bit more secure. Apply the changes. Now create a shared folder. Go to Shared Folders and click on Add. The name of this folder is Mark Shared Folder, and I'm going to place it on the orange hard drive. I'll click on Save and apply the changes. Now, one more thing I need to do is give my user privileges to this shared folder. So I'll go back to User, click on the user, and select Privileges. In Mark's shared folder, I want him to have read and write access. And I'll apply those changes. The final step is to make a service available to a computer that you are trying to log on with. In this case, I'm using a Macintosh, and to do that, I'm going to use smb/cifs. I click on Enable, and I hit Save, and I'm asked to apply that configuration change. Now that I have that service available, I have to tell it what I want to share with that. So I'm going to add a shared folder that I previously created, Mark Shared Folder, and I hit Save, and I'm going to accept the configuration change again. Now I'm looking at my Macintosh. I'll go to Go, Connect to Server, and I want to connect to this server using smb:10.35.3.114, which is the IP address for my private cloud server. And I click on Connect. I receive a dialog, and then I receive Enter your name and password for the server. The name is correct, and my password is, of course, Mark. And I hit Connect. Now, if I open up a Finder window, you'll note that in the shared, I have a server 10.35.3.114, and in there is Mark Shared Folder, the folder that I created on my Raspberry Pi private cloud. There are a lot of other configuration options with Open Media Vault, including users and group permissions, redundant drive management, scheduled maintenance, security options, power management, automated backup, LDAP support, MySQL support, and others. All of this is detailed at the documentation located at openmediavault.readthedocs.io/latest. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Raspberry Pi Weekly. Be sure to join the LinkedIn group and check out previous episodes on LinkedIn Learning. I'll see you next week with more Raspberry Pi adventures.